Hey there, and welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. That was anticlimactic. Man, drink of the podcast. So tonight, again, another one of these drinks that I was sure we've had on the podcast before, but going through the spreadsheet, could not find it. So we went ahead and did it. No, it's not root beer, but Killebrew also has a cream soda. And gosh, I have to say, I am not impressed with this. I'm not impressed with this by the slightest. And no, it's not because it's not the root beer. The root beer is first class, cannot be outdone. But this Killebrew cream soda is going to be very short lived. Upon looking up and looking into Killebrew, they don't have a website anymore. If you look on the can, they reference it's Killebrew rootbeer.com, but if you try to go to it, it says they haven't renewed their thing. So that's the unfortunate part, but you can Google them, and they are on a couple different social media sites. Killebrew Root Beer, it has a Facebook page. They are on Accolades, and that's about it, unfortunately. If you go to your local Cub, they're more than likely going to have it. I think I've seen them in a couple of Targets. But yeah, Cub is probably going to be your best bet. Target 2, if you're wanting the root beer, they have an abundance of that. So again, we're going to keep this kind of short. And don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily because it's not the root beer. It's not because I don't like cream soda. Because for those that have listened for a while now, no, I was never a cream soda lover growing up. But I've grown to enjoy a couple of these different types of cream sodas. And this is just, I don't even know. There's so much wrong with it. It tastes kind of too malty. Pure natural spring water, high fructose corn syrup, pure Minnesota honey, caramel color, natural and artificial flavors, and citric acid are what's in this. I mean, yeah, it tastes kind of flat, if I'm being completely honest. It tastes kind of like, I don't know, it tastes like bad honey or something. I really don't like this. Wouldn't recommend it. It's probably better that they're not all over social media and have a big website and all that fun stuff. Yeah, like I said, if you're looking to try this when you like cream soda, I guess have at it. I personally would not recommend it, but I really don't like it. I'm gonna give it. I don't know that I've ever gone this low. I'm gonna go a 2.4. 2.4. I really don't like it. It's not awful enough to give it a 1. I'll muscle through it on the podcast here. I don't know that I'll ever be able to look at this can ever again. The root beer, yes. This one, the blue one, no. Excuse me. So yeah, that is all we have for you on Killebrew today. For Tommie Town, we have a little bit of news. Back a week ago today, Thursday on the 12th, there were 6 Tommies on the men's hockey team named to the All-American Scholars list by the American Hockey Coaches Association. It says the American Hockey Coaches Association recognizes varsity hockey players who compiled exceptional results in the classroom during the 24-25 season with the announcement of the Rampage All-American Scholars. 6 Tommies were named to the list after compiling a 3.75 grade point average during the 24-25 academic year. And they had to appear in 40% of the team's games. Exceptions were granted due to injured players, back goalies, and things of that nature. And those 6 players are graduate student Chase Foley, junior Quentin Pepper, junior Cage Sturger, junior captain Lucas Wallen, and sophomores Chase Cheslock and Cole Miller. So a huge congratulations to them. And then later in the week, 4 of those same Tommies were named to the CSC Academic All-District team. All it says, this one is a little even more vague. It says the 2025 Academic All-District team selected by the College Sports Communicators recognizes the nation's top student athletes for their combined performances on the ice and in the classroom. I'm not really quite sure what the difference is between the two, but this one, it was 5th years Chase Foley and Matthew Gleason getting the nod, juniors Cage Sturger and Lucas Wallen and Ryan O'Neill, and then sophomore Chase Cheslock. So a huge congratulations to all of them. And then for the women's team, they had 7 Tommies named to the American Hockey Coaches Association All-American Scholar program. Very similar, the award is sponsored by Crampade and is given to student athletes who showcase outstanding athletic, academic performance as well as on the ice contributions during this last season, maintaining a 3.75 GPA or higher for both semesters. And they include seniors Maddie Clough, Rachel Goldsnitz, and Nicole Valario, sophomores Ella Berger, Maddie Brown, and Kara Savajic, and freshman Isla Lindemann. So a huge congratulations to them. And that is what we have for Tommie Town. So like every other week, we get to everybody's favorite part of the podcast, Mini Week in Bets. So this last week we had another really, really good week. We went 3-1 with a +1 additional win, and we will get into that. So, to recap, we had the Oilers Panthers. What was that? The game 5, the over 6.5 goals to hit, and it did. There were 9 total goals. However, we had the Panthers money line -148. That was the one that did not hit. The Oilers ended up winning that game 5-4 in overtime to force a game 6. So that was the one miss for the week. But then the Tigers against the spread -1.5 over Baltimore did hit as a 1-4-1. And then the Cardinals and Brewers combined for under 8 runs in a Milwaukee 6-0 win. And what I mean by our +1 win, we're going to add this right down here as well. What was it? 2 weeks ago, one of the 4 picks I said was Panthers +105 to win the cup, and that happened. But we are 18-11 all time now, hitting at a 62.1% rate. Had a really good week, like I said this last week, but just like everything, we bounce back and always want to strive for that perfect week. So without further ado, this week, the first game I like, after a crushing win over the Cincinnati Reds today, I'm taking the Twins money line +172 over the Milwaukee Brewers tomorrow. The Twins are sitting at 36-37, welcoming the Brewers, who are sitting at 39-35 at Target Field. The money line right now is sitting at Milwaukee at -210, with having a slightly better record, and like I said, Minnesota at +172. And I'm not going to lie, coming into this, I just had a good feeling, especially after today's onslaught of the Reds. I just had a good feeling about this. I had a really good feeling about this Twins game. I know the Twins, or the Brewers, have a team earned run average of 3.8 so far this year, 14th in the league, and their staff has run up 611 batters. While at the same time, their pitchers have conceded 78 home runs and also 300 runs in total, 15th in the MLB. And one of their downfalls too, they've walked a lot of batters as well, putting guys on base. Well, the Minnesota Twins have had bullpen pitchers really stepping onto the mound in 27 save opportunities and have walked away with 14 saves. I know they're not ranked very high in that regard, but they have Joe Ryan taking the mound tomorrow, who's holding a 3.78 ERA, giving up just 7.4 hits per inning. His strikeouts to walk ratio is 4.87 and has gone up against over 2,200 hitters in the MLB. And he's playing pretty good ball right now. So like I said, give me the Twins money line at +172. My second pick I like is another baseball game. I like the LA Dodgers against the spread, another odd against the spread game. Another odd against the spread game that I like. They're going up against the Washington Nationals tomorrow night. Kenzie Gore is getting the start for Washington, and in his 15 starts has an 2.89 ERA. And what else did I put here? Has an elite 33.6% strikeout rate. However, the Dodgers have Clayton Kershaw, and he's been giving up ground ball served at about a 43% rate with a 0.65 home runs per 9 innings. Washington is batting 217 against left-handed starters, and LA is hitting 280 at home with 72 homers in 40 games. In his last 5 games, Kershaw has had a 1.90 ERA, and Washington is 5-7 in the run line on the road as an underdog of plus 175. So, like I said, not very similar. A little bit different from the Detroit game last week. I could see this being a little bit of a blowout. If nothing else, I think the Dodgers have enough firepower with their bats and have enough pitching to win by at least 2 or 3 runs. So that is my second pick I have for you guys. And then my third pick, I know we just wrapped up, and for those that follow me on TikTok, just saw my TikTok post last night. The Pacers did in fact win game 6 and force a game 7 in Oklahoma City. But for game 7, regardless of who wins the game, I really, really see this coming down to a last possession or two. It is not going to be a blowout despite Halliburton dealing with that hamstring injury. I see it being a really close game. I think, like I said, it's going to come down to the last couple minutes. And it's going to be really interesting because this will be the last game. This will be the first game 7 game in the NBA Finals since 2016, since the Cavaliers were able to come back from the from the 3-1 deficit to win the entire thing. And which leads me to my last pick. I have a sneaking suspicion that, I guess not history, but I think the Pacers are going to end up winning the game. So my last pick is give me the Pacers money line plus 260. I just think over these last couple of games, despite their best player dealing with an injury and not playing well, this is a Pacers team that's finding themselves in position that guys are stepping up and guys are really seizing the moments. I mean, in a blowout winning game 6 that they needed to have to force an integral game 7, they got 20 points from Obi Toppin, who shot 50% from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3. You had Andrew Nemhard go for 17, Pascal Siakam, who's been playing lights out this postseason, go for 16 and 13. Aaron Nesmith go for 14 or 10. Reese Halliburton had an off shooting night. Again, he picked up 14 points. And DJ McConnell coming off the bench with a huge 12.9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steal night. That guy was everywhere. When I was watching the game, you were hearing his name, what felt like every time either team was going down the floor. And I just think this Indiana team is really coming together. And I think they're almost using Halliburton's injury as kind of like a chip on their shoulder and really kind of taking it together as a team. Not to say the Oklahoma City Thunder aren't playing as well as a team, but we've seen in these finals they're very, very streaky. Like when they either have their shots falling or they don't. And I think it's going to be very back and forth. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring in game 7. So that's what I have for you guys. So again, in summary, I got the Twins money line plus 172 over the Brewers tomorrow night, or tonight rather. The LA Dodgers minus 1.5 against the spread against the Washington Nationals. And then the Pacers against the spread plus 7.5 points. And then the Pacers money line to win outright as well. Plus 260. And that is what we have for you guys there. And then on to our usual UNRL shout out. So again, for those that saw that's what it is. Milk duds. Those milk duds. It tastes like a bad sour milk dud. That's what that tastes like. Anyways, huge shout out to UNRL. I don't know how well you can see, but really cool. It's got the really nice raised letters, Minnesota, with the little North Star kind of thing. Twins patch on the side, UNRL. It's got the really cool kind of accent around the pouch down here, which is really nice. And it is super lightweight, but I have to say this is one of few sweatshirts I have from them that feel a little bit warmer than usual because it's got more of like that fleece interior and less of the open airiness. Again, I can't say enough about the material. It's top notch. It's one of the best. I honestly, you can ask my wife, I'm not far away from having UNRL, pretty much owning at least 75% of my closet and my stuff I wear. I was thinking about this the other week. I have an abundance of hats of theirs, a bunch of shirts, sweatshirts especially, a couple of long sleeves. Can't say enough about it. I urge you guys, go check them out. Once again, I will put my link in the bio. If you use my link to get anything from UNRL shop, you'll get 15%. You'll get $15 off your first order. I promise you won't be disappointed too. And then the last thing I got on tonight, I got my UNRL 125th US Open Script Mid-Pro Vented Snapback. They still have some of their merch from the US Open. They have a couple hats and some sweatshirts. They had shirts, polos, all that kind of stuff, and they have still a limited availability. So if you go to unrl.com and check them out, you can see what's available. I don't know about sizes, but I don't know too much about sizes, but go check them out. They should have some stuff left for you guys. And like I said, I cannot stress this enough. They are the top of athleisure and are quite simply just amazing and awesome. So yeah, go check them out. Go check them out on social media. And like I said, you guys will not be disappointed. But moving on. So yeah, like I said earlier tonight, Thursday night, the Indiana Pacers were able to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in 4-set Game 7, but the previous night the Florida Panthers dispatched of the Edmonton Oilers in 6 games at home to win their second straight Stanley Cup Finals. And I misspoke actually last week. They are the second straight team to win back-to-back cups, and I have to say I did not realize this, but for those that didn't know, between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Edmonton Oilers, the two teams in Florida, they have represented the Eastern Conference in the last 6 Stanley Cups. So let's walk through this really quickly. Obviously, this year, the Florida Panthers beat the Oilers in 6 games. Last year, they beat the Edmonton Oilers in 7 games, but I totally forgot that they lost in 6 games back in 23 to the Vegas Golden Knights when they won. And then in 2021, the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Montreal Canadiens in 5 games. And then in 2020, the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Dallas Stars in 6 games. So 6 straight years, Tampa or Florida going to the Stanley Cup. And I think next year that's going to be broken. I think if you take a look at how these teams are constructed, I think both these teams are losing a decent amount of guys. I mean, truthfully, if you look at Florida's roster, I think they're bringing back more guys on their team than Edmonton, which leads into our first question. We got 3 questions tonight. And first question comes from Gabe Weber from Instagram, and he wanted to know, where do the Edmonton Oilers go from here? Are they toast? And that is a great question. Getting ready for the podcast, I kind of looked up a lot of different things for them, and I think there's a lot of different things that they can do. Obviously, they can blow this thing up and start from scratch. I think there are trades and moves that they can make to get a bunch of people off and kind of rebuild and retool around McDavid and Draisaitl. But I think regardless of what the Edmonton Oilers do, I think they need to address their goaltending, Skinner's inconsistent playoff performance, and I don't think Picard played that bad. But for a backup, he wasn't fantastic. But I think their number one, or one of their 2 main goals this offseason, needs to be getting a solid goaltender that's going to be somewhat consistent for you. Because I'm inclined to think that if Skinner was more consistent, they probably would have won the cup, and they probably would have played less games leading up to the Stanley Cup Finals. in my opinion. And then, like I said too, then the second thing, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you're really, really wanting and really, really hoping that Connor McDavid re-signs an 8-year contract. Yes, you heard me correctly. So under the new CBA agreement with the NHL, the longest contract you can sign is 8 years, not 10, not 12, not 13, like Malkin and some of those guys did years ago. But yeah, I think, and I was hearing a rumor, I think if you go back and you listen to Connor McDavid's comments after this last game, obviously it's heartbreaking. They didn't win it 2 years. There's nothing that I have heard that leads me to believe he's unhappy in Edmonton other than the fact that they lost back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I mean, Connor McDavid with the new money coming up too is going to garner. I'm guessing he's going to be making 18, maybe 19 mil a year. I mean, he's unbelievable right now. He's probably the best player in hockey, despite not scoring a ton in the Stanley Cup Finals. But he's going to garner a lot of money, and I think if Connor McDavid is smart, he's probably going to want to sign a deal that's more a 3 or 4 year deal, and it's kind of like, let's see what we can do in these 3 or 4 years, and then I may want out. Because, I mean, I think Darnell Nurse is a fantastic defenseman, but he's on the hook for a lot of money over the next, Darnell Nurse is under contract for through the 29-30 season, and he's making $9,250,000 a year, which is a lot for a defenseman. You obviously have Draisaitl locked in through the 30-31 season. And McDavid is, after this upcoming season, going to be a free agent. So it'll be interesting to see what this team does. Obviously, they're not bringing back guys like Corey Perry. They're getting older. You got Zach Hyman making 5.5 mil, Nugent Hopkins making a little over 5 mil, Evander Kane, who's 34, or 5.5 mil. So not only is this team not bringing back a ton of guys, but this is a team that is getting older. I think they need to bring in some youth and try to be competitive. Again, the unfortunate thing is they still have Stuart Skinner and Kelvin Pickard under contract next year. I don't think either of those guys are the answer. I don't know if you cut them. I don't know if you trade them, but I think they got it. The number one thing is they got to shake up that goal. No, the goaltending issue. And then lastly, before we move on, there were a couple things I saw in terms, no new news on the Wild, but there are some newsworthy things and some of the kind of like off-season things that with the season being over that I would bring up. I think Marco Rossi, and I kind of have mixed feelings about this. I think Marco Rossi is as good as gone. I don't know if he's going to be traded right away, but I don't think he will be a Minnesota Wild on opening day. And I have mixed feelings about it because he obviously had a great year last year, and he had a pretty good year the year before. And you hate to see a guy like that go, but if you can turn him into a John Tavares, a Brock Besser, something like that, like more of a veteran center, I think that would be amazing, especially with Marco Rossi wanting the money and with his appeal being really high right now. Because I think one of the things, again, that the Wild have going for themselves is they're very young. They have Zeev, Bynum, they can re-sign Declan Chisholm. They got Matt Boldy, Kirill Kaprizov. Like, they have a lot of youth on this team. I just worry about having too much youth and not enough of the veteran leadership, which leads me into my second thing. I think with us signing Johansson, I think Zuccarello. I mean, I think you have to keep Zuccarello around, but I kind of have this feeling 2 to 3 kind of veteran guys will probably be moved, like a combination of, I don't know, maybe Hartman, Zach Bogosian. I can never pronounce his last name correctly. Not Zuccarello, and the only reason they wouldn't trade Zuccarello is because Kirill really likes playing with him and they have a lot of chemistry. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, I mean, like I said, obviously the big thing, very similar to the Edmonton Oilers this offseason, is going to be re-signing Kirill to another, hopefully 5 or 6 year deal, and hopefully they can use the fact that he's not that he's not an amazing player and deserves the money he's going to get, but hopefully they can get him maybe a little bit cheaper just because he's been a little injury prone these last couple of years. And again, very similar to the Oilers, I think another thing that this team needs to do and should do is trying to find an insurance policy as far as goalie is concerned. Jesper Wallstedt is, still projected to be an amazing goalie in the next couple of years. You still got Gustafsson on in there. Is he going to be able to replicate what he did last year? Who knows? And then with Marc-Andre Fleury retiring, I just think you need to have another option available to you at the NHL level. But it's going to be an interesting offseason. I'm excited to see what Guerin does. Excuse me. This offseason, now that he actually has money that he can spend, obviously a good portion of that's going to go to Krill. But it'll be a pivotal summer for the franchise, and truth be told, could be a factor in how long Guerin stays around long term. Excuse me, as well too. So, and the last thing too, he just got done playing, but one of the big names that people are thinking that we could possibly get is free agent Sam Reinhart, and I think that would be an awesome pickup. He's only 29, so he's not quite in his 30, like in his early or mid 30s quite yet. He just got off winning a cup. It would be amazing to have a guy like him in the locker room that knows how to win a cup and kind of get that in the room and get that around the guys, as they'll look to get out of the first round for the first time next year, hopefully. But yeah, that kind of wraps up what I have for the Wild. And then yeah, I think for the NBA, I think we talked about it a little bit, but I am super excited for this game 7 against Indiana and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be such a fun game to watch. Sunday the 22nd in Oklahoma City. It is going to be a fantastic game. Like I said, I anticipate it being low scoring. I personally think the Pacers are going to be able to get it done, but it's going to be a great game. Super excited to watch it. I'm interested to see the kind of impact Halliburton's going to be able to have on the game. If he's going to be 100%, he probably won't, but how close is he going to be to 100%? Because I think if he's able to shoot decent and you can get around 20 points from him while having these guys kind of step up, it could be a recipe for disaster for Oklahoma City. But the biggest thing for this game that I'm looking forward to is I really hope the refs put their whistles away and just let these guys play. Obviously, you got to call the blatant stuff, but nobody wants to see this ticky-tack bullshit fouls being called in the NBA Finals, especially in Game 7, deciding who's hosting Larry O'Brien. And yeah, it's not fun. It's going to be a good game. And if the refs are trying to take it over, I very well could just turn off the game, truthfully, regardless of who it's going forward to. But yeah, after kind of breaking it down in mini weekend bets, that's about all I have for Game 7. We had a second question. Kate Doyle on TikTok commented on or tagged me in a video from First Take and said at Mini Weekend, what are your thoughts on Mad Dog's comments? And for people don't know what she's referring to, she tagged me in a video that on First Take, Molly had asked Mad Dog, don't quote me on this, but essentially alluding to, do the Phoenix Suns owe it to Kevin Durant to trade him to where he wants to go. And Mad Dog made the point that the Suns don't owe him anything. He went on to essentially talk about the fact that Kevin Durant really hasn't done anything in Phoenix. Like, he has hardly won a playoff game. He never won a title. Like, he rattled off, I'm not kidding you. You should go look it up on their TikTok. He rattled off about 4 or 5 Phoenix Suns names that I've never heard of, and saying that they've done more for this franchise, especially Devin Booker, this and that and the other thing. So to answer your question, Kate Doyle, I see what he's saying, because again, we talked about this last week. The NBA is a business, and as a business, if you're the Suns, you definitely want to look out for your best interest. But at the same time, you do kind of want to give the benefit of the doubt to some of these stars. But to answer your question, Kate Doyle, what are my thoughts? Do I agree with it? Do I don't? I would probably say I more so agree with him than I disagree. I think the Phoenix Suns, if I'm being completely honest, I think the Phoenix Suns, if they didn't think there was a possibility that a team, knowing that they know what we are offering them, I think they have a slight feeling that they could potentially leverage that into getting more. I think that's the only reason it hasn't happened. And look, I know a lot of people kind of segueing into the Wolves a little bit. I know there have been a lot of reports coming out saying that Kevin Durant doesn't want to play up here. I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of people seem to think it is. I don't know if it is. I think playing with Anthony Edwards is a huge appeal. We're not mortgaging our entire future. We're not mortgaging our team. So he's going to be able to play with a good amount of these guys and cats, and he'll still be able to be competitive. But I mean, I said it a couple weeks ago, and I stand by it. I think Kevin Durant is going to be a Timberwolf before the season ends or before the season starts. But another couple guys to look at too is potentially getting Lonzo Ball at a discount. I think the Timberwolves, regardless of how this trade goes through with Dillingham and everything like that, I think we're going to be committed to kind of getting a younger, more athletic point guard to kind of play alongside with Anthony Edwards. And truthfully, I kind of like, when I first heard Lonzo Ball being connected to us, I was kind of like, ugh. But then when I thought more about it and when I was watching some of his clips, if he can, when he's healthy and if he can stay healthy, he's just as good of a, he's as good of a two-way guard in the league as anybody else. He's not an amazing all-star by any means, but if he can stay healthy, I mean, that's a guy that can get you 10 to 20 points a game and can probably average, I don't know, 5 to 10 assists a game. Like, he knows how to get the ball into the hands of his playmakers, and he also knows how to take shots too. So, yeah. Again, it's going to be a very fun, very interesting off season for the Timberwolves, and it's crazy to think, segueing into last question and kind of last thing that we got going on here, but we have 76 days until the start of the NFL season, 80 until the Vikings' first game, which is insane to me. But yeah, like I said, I know I talked about a couple weeks ago after the 4th of July being when things are really gonna hone down, and that's probably gonna be mainly for the NHL. Both the drafts are slowly coming up here for the NBA and for the NHL. I would not be surprised if a decision was made on Kevin Durant before the NBA draft, which is June 25th. So we are 6 days away from that, and I would not be surprised to see that happen, because I think some of these teams that are in the sweepstakes, I think they're flirting with it, and I think if they're able to get who they want in the draft, they may not give up their picks, but I don't know. So yeah, and then, like I said, just like the wild, no new news on the Wolves. I know I've already heard Anthony Edwards is back home in Georgia, already practicing and working out and getting ready for the season. And then very similar to for the Vikings too. No new news on the Vikings. We will keep you guys posted, but stuff on the Vikings will definitely start to pick up here, as very similarly to those other sports after the 4th of July, you really start to see guys coming back for training camps. And I mean, shit, less than, we're 5-6 weeks away from preseason starting and the Hall of Fame game starting. It'll be an interesting couple weeks, and we will wrap up with our last question it was actually an first email question we've had, so shout out to you. But it looks like it's, oh no, I wrote it down, renneralexis81@gmail.com, and she wants to know, Jack, when are you doing your first game-by-game predictions for the Vikings? And thank you for your question. I was looking up that myself, and I think we're going to aim to do it sometime after the 4th of July. And then usually between the 4th of July and the start of the season, we'll do my first one, and then we'll do maybe another look at it as we get closer to preseason, and then we'll do one more official, our last one in the football preview. So again, that is what we have for you guys tonight for the podcast. I completely forgot to mention this when we were doing mini weekend bets, but once again, I am not a financial advisor, so do what you will with those picks. I'm not liable for losses, just like I won't come after you guys for your wins. And then, yeah, wrapping up, again, you guys know where to find me on Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, the mini weekend. Like I've mentioned, link is in the bio for those interested in going to purchase some sweet mini weekend UNRL merch. Link is in the bio. And we look forward to next week with you guys. Till next time, Minny.